it was described, I guess, in the previous panel, don't bet against Dubai. I've been here for 25 years. I remember when we first reached, well, actually the first country I visited was Bahrain. And at the time, Bahrain was about 900,000 going to 1 million. Dubai was probably around 400,000, give or take. It was a few buildings on Sheikh Zayed Road. It was a big guitar in the middle of the highway on the way to Abu Dhabi, known as the Hard Rock Cafe, which is no longer there. And then we talked about the Dubai Internet City. And I think the best way to actually describe Dubai probably was how this Dubai Internet City was firstly made and founded. You know, Sheikh Mohammed, which is kind of the guy that makes the right direction in terms of setting the tone of how things get done. He wanted to attract the bigger names of Microsoft, Oracle, Google, and so on. So he said, how do we make it attractive for such talent to come to the region? And of course, they built the first 3 buildings. It was DIC1, DIC2, DIC3. Out came fairly straightforward, but nice buildings, a bit of grass. And Sheikh Mohammed always comes the last day before the opening to do the quality assurance, making everything is okay. He comes around, he takes, everything has to be picture perfect. So he goes, he says, guys, where is the palm trees? Imagine, it's like 10 o'clock at night and his guys are, project manager is sweating bullets. We forgot the palm trees, so there's no picture perfect fireworks the next day. So at the time there was, I think, 2 or 3 hotels on the Corniche on Jumeirah Road, I think Sheraton and Hilton. It's still there if you go to JBR. They went to the manager and said, we have palm trees. We need your palm trees for the next 2 or 3 weeks. So at midnight, they dig up 12 or 13 palm trees. They bring them across to DIC 1, 2, and 3. The next day, fireworks. We get a lunch. We go do a brunch at one of the palaces of Sheikh Mohammed. And what it really means is Dubai did a picture-perfect lunch of what became known as Dubai Internet City, and as we know today. This is my view as it has been. Obviously, this has set off the tone for what is DMCC today and many of the other 20 plus, 30 plus free zones, some of them specializing in addressing the needs of the blockchain and financial community, one being the IFC and the other one being the MCC. I would like to maybe each of the panelists to also get 2 or 3 minutes to introduce themselves and maybe give a bit of their own view or their perspective on what is Dubai and what is making Dubai so unique, and more specifically as potentially it applies to also the blockchain industry. So, Jim.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, for a few of you already know me. I've been around for 20 years now in Dubai, so I have also been a part of this, call it the long journey, seen how everything has developed over all these years. Only a year and a half ago, we ourselves set up we want to pride ourselves to say it's a hedge fund, but it's not a hedge fund still in Dubai. And the reason for that was because at the time we set up the fund, we didn't have the capability to actually set up a license that was tailor-made to doing digital securities and crypto. So we incorporated a fund in Cayman Island. However, things have changed dramatically. And this is why I'm so happy to be in Dubai at the moment, because things are moving very fast. Even though there's still no clarity to exactly what you could do in the crypto space and the digital security space, at least it's moving now very fast, rapidly forward. Abu Dhabi has already announced that they will allow 2 crypto exchanges to take place. I think Dubai will follow up very, very soon. And the Marsh funds, as such, we are setting up a DeFi platform, but it will be fully regulated in this region. And that is a super app for various different investment classes, including Forex trading, crypto, digital securities, fractional ownership tokenization, and also traditional markets, SPACs, IPOs, RTOs. So that's in a nutshell what Endermarsh is doing at this stage. Thank you.
And obviously Thomas, as one of the best entertainers, and I think this will save for later for those that are interested. And then obviously we go to our next guest, BizThon.
So I'm from Phoenix Group. We are a Dubai-based company. Actually, the company established in 2014, just to the purpose of digital assets. I have a study here. I'm here for 25 years. As you see, the changes we have seen every day in Dubai. So 2015, we did the first operational size mining farm in UAE, but unfortunately the weather, it's it's not so great. So the company grows substantially, but we are happy that we all the time we stayed in Dubai as a headquarter and all the subsidiaries all around the world. So that's us.
Another interesting gentleman is Jafar, which works for one of the family offices. So Jafar, since you're a local, obviously your perspective will be a little bit different than ours, but it will be interesting to hear as well.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, George. My name is Jafar, the director of Lead Ventures and the private office of His Highness Sheikh Juma bin Maktoum Al Maktoum. The purpose of the office and His Highness' office as well is to assist companies who are planning to tap into the market and give out the privilege of having His Highness as a strategic supporter and strategic partner for the companies out here in the UAE. We have been proactive in the blockchain industry for the past few years, and that's because of the initiatives that the government of Dubai are taking into tokenizing, digitizing all the assets, especially on the government side. So since we are represented by a royal family member, then we basically help out our partners into making those initiatives happen and assist them in delivering that as well. So thank you so much.
And then we have Sami as well.
So I'm also slightly biased on this topic because I came to Dubai in 1986, so quite a few years ago. So currently I'm working at Binance, leading ecosystem development for Binance Smart Chain specifically and several other parts of the firm. Prior to that, I was also working at Consensus here in the region, and we spent considerable time and efforts hiring and building out an engineering team here. So have some good insights on some of the good and challenging sides around that from a talent perspective in the region.
At the beginning, I talked about a building, but I think buildings by themselves is like you build it and they will come. But I do believe that the key ingredients come probably from three primary elements. And I usually call, you can say, the Dubai secret sauce. So the Dubai secret sauce comes from one side, the availability of qualified resources at affordable rates. So that means you need to build an infrastructure that produces either candidates that are graduated and have the capabilities, or a system that produces them through universities, higher colleges, and so on. And that system is in place. The second one is you need a system to actually finance new business ideas, to be able to get investments through either family offices, venture capital, or other funding capabilities. And I think the third element, I think, is also extremely important, is to have the right ecosystem. And that ecosystem includes a combination of government, private industry, and others that actually cooperate together to actually create or stir up the secret sauce. So back to Thomas, what do you think is the secret sauce that has attracted you to Dubai?
No, I actually think taking what we are doing into consideration is the fact that Dubai has actually moved slowly. And it's maybe fun, I'm saying slowly rather than fast. And I'm thanking them for that today. They didn't give licenses right away to everyone. They were looking at the market, how it was evolving, making sure that we are avoiding these Ponzi schemes that you're now seeing all over the place and not taking part of it. And I'm actually happy, for example, to see that the Dubai coin, for example, got stopped instantaneously, saying it has nothing to do with us as a government. it shows that it's necessary to have a government that actually very firm and tough on regulations. We just got pre-approved for DIFC as well, for a venture firm, which is also quite rare in the region. And they've been incredibly hard on us to every single step of the way, what we're doing, because we are very much operating in the digital space, not only crypto, but also digital securities and digital assets. So I'm actually glad to say that Dubai has, at least in my humble opinion, been very firm and very clear to what they're allowing and what they're not allowing. I think it's actually a privilege in many ways.
What about your perspective?
So I agree in a sense. It took us some time to reach here, but now with the platforms that exist in ADGM, in DIFC, you can put essentially crypto on your balance sheet. You can get a digital banking license in ADGM. It's not easy, but if you provide the documents, and also with what is happening in DMCC and the licenses that it's getting issued, it's actually the best environment right now in the world to be in, because essentially you are in a city that it's in my mind the most modern city in the planet. Then you enjoying a tax-free environment, and soon this is a type of a license that is getting issued that you can even connect your digital wallet to your bank, which is essentially it's going to help a lot of companies that they are in this business.
Jafar, since you're helping a lot connecting the local Dubai with the foreign Dubai.
So I think it's not a sauce, it's a recipe of yeah, it's like a mixture of many sauces. And the most important thing, I think, is the vision of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, the ruler of Dubai. I remember he had a quote back in the days saying, Dubai will never settle for anything less than the first place. So in every sector that has been booming in the UAE, he made sure that Dubai is the #1 in that sector globally. As of now, the blockchain is booming, the digitization of assets is booming, and all the focus and all the efforts are towards the blockchain industry right now, by attracting, of course, the trustworthy companies who can actually assist the government entities in reaching to wherever the government entities are intended to reach. So I think it's, and the second reason is the safety of the UAE as a country. It's very safe. So they have created this atmosphere where if you want to do business legally and you want to be a leader in your industry in a safe environment, then Dubai is the place. So that's why probably the hesitation, I wouldn't call it hesitation, but maybe the government have been a little bit cautious in terms of regulating the cryptocurrencies, is because they want to test out the market and try to filter out the BS that has been happening over the past 3 years, which will only result in a very long-term foundation to the cryptocurrency world and the blockchain in specific. So whatever they will regulate, it will be regulated based on a very, very, very strong foundation and an ecosystem that will be useful for everyone.
Sami?
Yeah, so I think as part of my role, speaking to hundreds and hundreds of developer teams, like the top teams in the crypto space and DeFi, NFT projects all over the place. And I've seen a very significant shift of number of teams relocating to Dubai, especially in the last 6 months. So these are teams that have been in a number of the different regions all over Europe, the US, India, and other places that have set up permanent bases here now. And I think there's a number of reasons for that. One is, of course, like it's a more regulatory friendly environment compared to some of the other places for sure. But several other important factors, because especially for crypto teams, their user base is global. So I think even being the central location, so you can do calls with Singapore, Shanghai, wherever in the morning, and then still do calls with your West Coast US colleagues and teams in the same day within reasonable hours. I think this also kind of contributes a lot. I think quality of life, security as well is another big factor for a number of those teams. So I think there's a number of different factors that contribute towards it. But for sure, we do see this quite clear trend of Dubai being a preferred place. Tax is another aspect of it as well. I think we see that more from teams in Europe, especially in Germany and other places, where they're looking to relocate here or be based here for tax purposes. So I think it's a combination of a number of these factors.
I think there is several organizations that some are a bit behind the scenes, but some are in front of the scenes that help create the right ecosystem. I'll name 3 of them, but it's not an exclusivity of 3 of them. One is the Dubai Blockchain Center, which is in area 071, which is kind of the future vision of what Dubai will look in the year 2071. And it's the Dubai Blockchain Center Act by Dr. Marwan El-Zaroni, which is a good friend also for 24, 25 years. We have GBA, Global Blockchain Organization, which from headed in Washington, DC. And then there's the GBO, and there's other ones that came around, and some went and explored, like Planet Blockchain and many others. So how do you see the role of these organizations helping or complementing the vision that you have in speeding up your projects? Thomas.
Yeah, so for us, for example, we, as I said initially when we started this conference, we are building our own super app at the moment, and trying to define what a super app really is. It's just an app that now allows you to do both traditional and digital assets on the same platform. Having now access to all of these different, call it communities locally here, it's a huge advantage for us. We are working across many different developers at the moment. And so for us, the fact that we now have this crazy momentum in Dubai is it's just a blessing for us. It really is. So I think that answered the question. We also doing development as a venture capital firm as well, which I just mentioned. We are incorporating now in DIFC. We just got approved, and now we are investing into a number of different blockchain assets, and then having again access to all of these different quality services in Dubai. It's really good.
Belgium?
For us, we are negotiating with one of the organizations that you mentioned to do a renewable energy mining farm with solar in Dubai, which is going to be the biggest 100% renewable energy mining farm in the world. And these organizations help us a lot to get the approvals much faster, and also to connect with the intergovernmental agencies like DIVA, and it's really helping us a lot.
Jafar, I think you are yourself trying to create new generation of organizations that will help cement the upcoming changes in Dubai.
Yeah, I mean, the main role of those entities is the education, right? It's to keep educating the government entities and the private sector as well on the use cases that have been implemented in maybe some other countries that could potentially benefit those entities locally. So I think the number one purpose or role of these organizations is to keep raising awarenesses on the use cases of the blockchain, and act as the partner for those entities that will, if something goes wrong within the technology, or if something was miscommunicated or misunderstood by the entities, then they do have someone who they can pick up the phone and call and try to solve the problem for them, because it's a new technology for everyone. And especially here in the government, there has been many initiatives by the government. However, there hasn't been this player who will actually take the initiative and do it alongside those organizations. So keep educating the public sector about the technology itself, and try to close in the gap that has been there for the past few years.
Sami?
Yeah, I think this stakeholder education is a super important part, what these accelerators and these groups are providing to the project teams and companies that they're supporting. But I think there's a number of other types of support they're providing in the life cycle of these projects, whether it's connecting to advisors, investors, helping them set up, getting them faster to market through engagement with stakeholders and different government entities. I think that kind of acceleration is super helpful. Plus later on the growth and scaling in terms of users or scaling the business as well. I think these are kind of really key aspects that these organizations are providing to these teams, where otherwise it would take them significantly longer to try to achieve these themselves.
I think one of the reasons why people like to live in Dubai is because of the infrastructure that have put in place. We sometimes call this a smart city, but a smart city is not just about smart. It's about safety, it's about convenience of transportation, and many others. So I would like to see the things that give you the reason to actually be in Dubai as a team and as an organization. What does this do in terms of speeding up or making your own organizations more efficient? Thomas?
Yeah, so you mentioned smart cities. I think smart cities is now a very important part of the development, not only in Dubai, but the whole GCC and the rest of the world. You see it also in South Korea, see it all over the place, China, Japan, all over the place. This is now becoming a very crucial hub. And for blockchain itself is a very critical technology. I don't look at blockchain itself as a business. I look at blockchain as a technology. And I think technology using blockchain for these smart cities is very, very crucial and very critical. And I think when we now come to the Expo 2020, which is now 2021, you will see there will be a lot of focus on these smart cities. It will be discussed a lot and been spoken a lot about regionally here now. That's going to be one of the main things that's going to be talked about on the Expo 2021. So for me, this is a very, very important thing and a very important hub.
So how you see mining helping the smart cities, Belgium?
We provide hash power, so we validate
Hash
everything
power.
these guys are selling, basically. So, to be honest, one of the safest cities in the world. I remember, I just give a side note that I remember when we were in university, in American university in Dubai, there was a joke that if you leave your wallet in the cafeteria, when you come back, it's going to be there. Nobody is going to take it. So, very safe city, a very young people. It's our industry. Usually we work with young people. It's a very good city for the young employees to live in. So the performance and efficiencies you get definitely will go higher. The weather, you don't have storms. It's a sunny city. So all this, I think, it persuades us always to stay and grow our business here rather than looking for another opportunity.
Obviously, the Dubai community is still relatively small compared to the amount of foreigners. So how do you see this ecosystem coming together in the smart Dubai?
I mean, just to give you an example, what Ralph from CVVC was talking about, I think what they have done along with DMCC is remarkable. They have created the right environment, and they are acting as an incubator to those companies who want to tap into the market, and they have actually provided the right environment for them not in terms of capital, but in terms of resources and opportunities in the market as well. So creating that ecosystem within the DMCC was an amazing initiative from both parties, from the DMCC as well, from Crypto Valley, which is something that was much needed for the educational purposes of the industry, and as well it will take the level that we are in right now. It will even take it up higher, where
Accelerating.
yeah, exactly. So it kind of click together where the visions have been there with the companies that are coming in, and as well with what do they need out of this market and what do they expect, and this is something we have to provide for them as well, to ease up the process of them here in the UAE.
Sami?
Yeah, I think the smart cities agenda contributed a lot towards this perception of Dubai being super friendly for crypto and blockchain generally in a number of ways. So one, it attracted a lot of crypto developers and teams building innovative projects on use cases around smart cities, which was driven initially largely by the Dubai Future Accelerator, was also part of the reason how Consensus came into the region, and a number of the other leading crypto and blockchain companies that came out here, and of course also brought a lot of great attention through the Dubai blockchain mandate and agenda, which kind of demonstrate the leadership, forward-thinking approach and embracing emerging technologies here.
I think we're almost reaching the end, but I think we want to leave the end with a little bit of how does Dubai going to continue to keep its lead? And how does it Dubai pivot in a very fast way? I've examined it, certainly from the area as NFTs have become extremely popular. So we have our own version of NFT adopters by going to Arsikal Avenue and having meetups in which showcasing of this new generation of NFTs. We have Amrita amongst many other artists, which are combination of technologies to reach out. But Dubai is always on the edge. We built Burj Khalifa, it was 700, 800 meters. Saudi started building the building in Jeddah 1 kilometer. So Dubai goes 1 kilometer, we'll make it 1 mile. So always trying to setting the goals extra higher. So what do you see as the extra goals in the closing statements that you see Dubai must do to keep its ongoing lead? How do you stretch the elastic?
Yeah, so personally, I think in any industry, I think as long as the regulatory framework is now followed up, so it's actually possible to execute. Let me give you an example. So Regal Assets was the first one that got blockchain license in DMCC. The problem they had the license, but they couldn't execute and utilize it efficiently because it doesn't correspond with the banks. So if you can see now that we are developing further and further, and that is becoming more and more mainstream, and now we see this huge wave of NFTs, we see the huge wave of crypto happening recently. I think if Dubai can follow that up with a good, legal framework, I think we can see a huge bright future in this region. That's my view.
You see both the balance between the technology, the ecosystem, but also the legal capacity to do that.
This has been the biggest, in my humble opinion, it's been absolutely the biggest, let's say, problem, because you have had all these great companies coming up with all these great ideas. You have Binance sitting here next to me, all the others that already are in full existence, but it's difficult when you can't have the bank following up and work and execute. You can't execute.
So I remember in the early statement, the colleague that presented at the beginning, he had made lots of money of DeFi, but he wanted to buy a house. So how you go from DeFi?
Exactly, and you see Emar has opened this now to a certain degree, saying that we are happy to receive Bitcoin as payment for some assets. You're seeing now fractional ownership of world-class assets such as real estate, shipping, precious metals, and see others. It's fantastic, and this is the future. But without having the banks following up and being able to execute these orders is a very big problem. And I think if we can see that happening, that's when it's really going to open up. I think that's my home.
But Dubai is always creative, because I remember in the early days, the bank were not accepting, but OTC and cash kind of fill up the void. So you had people walking around with lots of bags in Dubai Mall and Emirates Mall doing OTC transactions right next to the skating ring.
This is what we must hope that will end soon, and I think it's starting now very well with the ADGM in Abu Dhabi. I think it's coming out very soon. We see now in DIFC they're opening up also for digital securities very soon. There's a lot of things moving. I'm just saying if the legal framework follow up also with the banks and the central bank, we're going to see a massive shift, and it's going to be much more mainstream.
So what's the future of mining for Dubai?
In that sense, I don't think mining, the weather here is very suitable, but in general, continue to what we start is never bet against Dubai. I believe so far what everybody has seen in Dubai, whatever His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid said, it happened. So, and the idea is more than 50% of government entities go through blockchain. Uh, Sectors like shipping, traveling, banking. And if I just want to say what is the current problem is, as he mentioned, the licenses are getting issued, but the banks are not very cooperative. So you have the license which is issued by the IFC or ADGM, but when you go to the banks still they don't have the memos that they can open bank accounts or work with these companies. Although the new governor of central bank also is a very crypto friendly gentleman, and he promised that this stuff is going to sort out fast.
For those that don't remember, maybe of you have heard about BitOasis. BitOasis was kind of the trailblazer in the early days. They operated for 2 years until somebody came and asked, "What license do you guys have?" And then everybody scrambled very fast to solve the situation. So Jafar.
I think for Dubai to stay in the lead, of course, from regulations point of view, they have to keep doing what they're doing, which is being a little bit careful in what they regulate. And from vision's perspective, of course, when you talked about Hub 71, which actually represents the vision of 2071, and which actually sets the plan way ahead of what we are right now, that's because we want to prepare for how the world is going to look like in 2071. So it's more of thinking about the future and keep being creative, as you said, and attracting the right players into the market as well.
Sami?
Yeah, I think one last point I'll add, in addition to what the gentlemen here have said, is I think one of the areas is really around talent. So I think there's a massive talent shortage generally in crypto space. I think it was one of the biggest issues for project teams that we speak to, wherever in the world they are. So there's definitely this large shortage of developers, and for Dubai to continue, Dubai's already been doing that, but continue to develop, continue to attract top developer talent, top technical talent. And in country as well, I think that would continue to provide this leading edge.
So I think the universities and the colleges have to accelerate. I think some of my colleagues have got a vision of training 1 million people into the development of blockchain. It has obviously been an immense pleasure, thanks to Adi, thanks to obviously Agora, thanks to esteemed guests to be with me here today. It's all about ecosystem at the end of the day. And since you're here, might as well put a plug in for one of our great colleagues, Rob. I don't know if he's there because he's walking around with a wheelchair. He's kicking off his event after Agora. So tomorrow night, we have a big reception that we do every Tuesday called EcoX. So as a closing party, you can sit to Agora. You are all welcome. It's going to be at back of the Conrad called VI, and it's the best place for you to meet your blockchain connections and to accelerate your business. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy. And I think we're back to Gordon. Thank you.
I intentionally did not interrupt you because it was so interesting and so good. So let's give another big round of applause for our fantastic panel. Really ended on a high note. And again, thank you to Hadi. Thank you to the whole Agora team. This wraps up the formal program for the first day of the Blockchain Congress. But keep in mind that there are structured meetings in the next room. If you have a meeting scheduled, please attend it. And we will be picking up tomorrow morning with the talks at 9 o'clock. Show up at 8 if you feel like it, and grab some coffee and some pastries. And you know what? Give yourself a round of applause if you're still in the applause mood for yourselves for showing up in a real life conference. So see you all tomorrow. It was great. Thank you.